The land was already ancient when the first sails appeared on the horizon, long before crowns, treaties, or muskets. 80-year-old breathed to the rhythm of its people. Forests stood like cathedrals. Rivers carried the voices of ancestors. Each tribe was sovereign, bound by Wakapapa, honor, and blood. No king ruled them all. Authority flowed from lineage and land. But the 19th century arrived like a gathering storm. European settlers came first as traders, then missionaries, then governors. With them came paper promises, inked in languages many Maori could not read, but whose consequences would scar generations. By the 1840s, the Treaty of Waitangi had been signed, spoken as partnership, practiced as possession. Land vanished, authority eroded, unity fractured. By the 1850s, Maori elders watched helplessly as surveyors carved their Huenu into squares and lines, as muskets replaced Taiaha, and Lo replaced Ikanga. Tribe stood against tribe. The old balance was breaking. And in the heart of the North Island, a radical idea began to spread. What if Maori stood as one? What if, instead of many chiefs divided, there was one king? Not to overthrow the British crown but to stand beside it. This was the birth of Kinjitanga. Before we begin, if you love uncovering hidden, dramatic moments from history, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment with your thoughts. The proposal was controversial, even dangerous. Maori society had never known a single monarch. Power was shared, debated, earned. Some feared a king would fracture unity further. Others believed it was the only path to survival. Meetings were held beneath carved meeting houses and open skies. Elders spoke of confiscated valleys and broken promises. Young warriors spoke of anger. Mothers spoke of futures stolen from their children. The question echoed across the land: who could carry such a crown? The answer emerged not through ambition, but respect. Patatauti Warohero, towering Rangatira of Waikato, was a man shaped by war and wisdom. He had fought, negotiated, and survived decades of upheaval. He was known for restraint when others chose violence. Reluctantly, solemnly, he accepted. In 1858, Patatauti Warohero was crowned the first Maori king. No palace rose, no gold crown gleamed. Instead, a woven cloak was draped over his shoulders, heavy with meaning. The crown was not power, it was burden. Kinjitanga had begun. The British colonial government did not celebrate. To them, Kinjitanga was not unity, it was rebellion, a rival authority, a threat to expansion. Tension thickened the air like smoke before battle. Settlers demanded land. The crown demanded obedience. The king movement demanded respect. Negotiations failed. Trust collapsed. By the early 1860s, the fragile peace shattered. War came to the Waikato. British troops advanced with artillery and discipline never before seen on Maori soil. Trenches were dug, villages were burned, crops destroyed, families fled into forests and swamps. Maori warriors fought fiercely in evading trench warfare that stunned imperial forces, but numbers and resources told their own brutal story. Defeat followed defeat. After Patatau's death, his son Tauiao inherited a kingdom in retreat. The crown responded with punishment, mass land confiscations. Millions of acres, ancestral, sacred, irreplaceable, were seized. The Waikato people were driven from their homes. Hunger followed exile. Pride followed suffering. King Tauiao led his people into the King Country, a region closed to Europeans for decades, a self-imposed exile. A silent protest. Kinjitanga had lost the war, but it had not died. 4 years. The Maori King movement endured quietly. No armies marched. No declarations were made. Instead, resistance took another form: memory, culture, identity. The kings who followed did not rule through force. They ruled through symbolism, through gatherings, speeches, and the preservation of mana. Generations grew up knowing they belonged to something older than colonization and stronger than defeat. The crown eventually apologized. Settlements were negotiated. Land, though never fully restored, was acknowledged as stolen. Kinjitanga had outlasted the empire's confidence. Today, the Maori king still reigns, not from conquest, but continuity. The movement stands as a guardian of Maori unity, a voice in treaty justice, a Reminder that sovereignty does not vanish simply because it is ignored. Kinjatanga is not a relic. It is a living resistance, carried in language, ceremony, and remembrance. Where muskets once thundered, songs now rise. Where land was taken, stories endure. The crown still rests on Mori's shoulders, not as domination, but as duty, and the land remembers. Thanks for watching.